think being self-aware and knowing, you know, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel not so good, and managing that in your day-to-day life. And probably then actually just being aware enough or brave enough actually sometimes to start to take action when we might not be feeling so good.
Hello and welcome to Coaching Cards. I'm Joe and I'm joined by Mark and Vicky, and we're here to discuss well-being. I'll kick off with the first card. What does well-being mean to you, and how important is it to keep on top of your mental health?
What it means to me in my role and going around coaching and coach development within clubs is feeling balanced, sort of light, quite just content with the preparation that I've had before I go into the club, and just feeling open-minded around my role within clubs, and going in a positive frame of mind around having some positive interactions with the people within the organisation I'm going into.
I think for me it's around, like, you know, trying to be the best version of yourself, like looking after yourself, taking care, and probably knowing when you're not feeling like quite right, like whatever's triggering that or causing that, and probably taking some action actually if you're, like I say, if you're feeling actually I'm not feeling so great, whether that's because of lack of sleep or just not getting out and about, you know, whatever that is. So noticing in yourself when you're feeling good or not so good.
I think that's a great point around the recognition of it, because we all can't be top all the time. That little bit of a recognition that we're allowed to be that way, but also then being conscious of how that affects our behaviour, and still can we function. Definitely try and be the best version of ourselves, if not.
You mentioned a word, Mark, which was balance. And for me, well-being is having that work-life balance. The time you spend on the job and employment, but the time you spend at home with your family, but also time for yourself, and making sure that mentally you're healthy, physically you're healthy, you've got good sleep patterns, you've got a good diet, and that general all-round holistic well-being package is what it means to me. If you haven't got that well-being, then it can affect mental health.
This is an area that has obviously developed, you know, there's real growth in it, and that thing around we all have it, that was something that in the end that I had to go, we've all got it, and then we've all got it at different levels. How detrimental can it be if you don't look after your own well-being?
You start to feel it in yourself, don't you? You know, when things aren't going so well, and like one bad day then leads to the next, and it builds up, and it's like, whether it's like a worry or anxiety, or you just feel like you're not in control of stuff, and then that's going to have an impact on everything that you do. So you know, you want to go out and deliver a perfect session, but you're not, because there's like other stuff that's in the way. It's the noticing, it's the like trying to take action, or otherwise, like I say, it's going to have a knock-on effect on probably not just you, but like the people around you, the coaches, the players, and and everything else.
And it's really good that you spoke and started by saying you start to feel it yourself. And you use the word noticing as well. And that sort of self-awareness then really gives you an insight into who you are and how you're feeling. And then you're able to identify why you're feeling that way. And if you have that self-awareness initially, then you can check in with yourself on a daily basis, make any amendments that you may need to make within lifestyle or work routine in order to make sure that you don't go into a poor state of mental health.
One of the key things, and it might come later, is for me is around I can only control my own sort of behaviours, and try and realign them and get that balance back, and then the other stuff is there.
And the impact of not being on top of your game in terms of mental health means that we're not going to be as productive as we would like to be at work. We may not be ourselves in the normal fashion, and therefore not be able to give to our colleagues and the players, if it's the players that we're working with, you know, the time and the effort that they need from us. So it's important that we stay on top of that.
So what does good mental health look like to you, and how do you maintain it?
I'll start with sleep, having a good sleep pattern, and talking to players about this, making sure that you get plenty of time to rest and recover from whatever activities that you're involved in. Your diet is important. Having time for yourself And that time for yourself, whether it's a hobby, whether it's being outside, for me personally, it's walking the dogs, being in the fresh air, being able to just enjoy a little bit of time just to clear my head.
But I think there's also a piece around like surround yourself with good people and like your support network. So it's around having those people around you that you can talk to, confide in, share your thoughts, almost sometimes be like a critical friend as well. But to make it a safe space, for me that mental well-being is around like sharing it with those people that are close and being in a good place with it.
What factors do you feel could affect a coach's mental health?
I think it's important to remember, all of our coaches work in different settings. So I think for grassroots coaches, there's probably different pressures, different challenges, trying to be everything to everybody. Often racing from work to take a session with the players, managing parents, managing players, sorting kit, arranging fixtures. So I think there's just a piece around control the controllables, manage what you can manage, share the workload, get others to help, and just be realistic with what you can achieve and by when.
But I think we also need to look at what can positively affect a coach's mental health. And, seeing that young player develop, seeing the smiles on the players' faces at the end of the session, when a parent comes across and says, thanks very much for that, a good performance at the weekend, a head of coaching coming across and saying that was a really good session. That positive reinforcement of what they're doing can make them really feel good about themselves and can be very positive.
Do you have any advice to help coaches develop awareness of their well-being?
I think we've got to remember everybody's different. So, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and what's right for one won't be right for another. I think being self-aware and knowing, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel not so good, and managing that in your day-to-day life. And probably then actually just being aware enough or brave enough actually sometimes to start to take action when we might not be feeling so good.
It's a really good point. I think it was mentioned earlier about having that daily check-in with yourself. How am I feeling and why? And what's making me feel like this? Is it something that's sort of ongoing? Or is it something that just happened in the moment? Am I aware of that? Having a support mechanism to go and speak to somebody, that communication, really important. I also think as a coach, it's trying to create an environment where actually it's okay to feel upset, it's okay to feel a bit angry at times, or it's okay to feel quiet, I don't want to speak, because that's, like you said, everybody's different. But having that environment where that understanding is there and people acknowledge that, you're not going to be, happy, jolly, full of life all of the time, because there could be reasons for that.
There's a role model piece as well, there isn't there, in terms of, we want our players to be the best they can be. But I think it's probably almost like a vulnerability piece as well, in terms of that, that coach. And, we want to create this environment for the players, but actually it starts with us as coaches probably recognising, noticing, accepting. It all links. Okay, so what advice can you give to coaches to help them improve their well-being and thrive?
Get that sort of balance in your life. Have time for yourself. Make time to get outside, get into the fresh air, not in a football context, but away from the coaching, away from the players, whether that be with dogs in my case, or family, or friends. Clear the mind, and if there's holidays to be taken, take holidays, and get yourself into a completely different environment where you can forget all the stresses, pressures that are going on back in the workplace, and enjoy some time. That then refreshes you, because when we come to work, we want to come and give our best, and we want to be productive. And if we just end up on a treadmill, then we're not going to be as productive as we can be.
So if I can piggyback off that, Joe, going into so we've come off that into the job and take that through the gate at say the talent, and you're going in and you've planned and there's things you've got to do, but don't be wed to them. Don't be wed to your session, as in I've got a 20 minutes here, and just have a space to let things emerge and just go with the flow a little bit, let the kids, if the kids are enjoying themselves, let them go, and find that not everything has to be perfect. We're not living in a perfect world, so there's a little bit of wriggle room. Obviously, we want to still demand standards of sorts, but it's if we don't quite reach it, well, that's okay. We can chat that through and go again.
Yeah.
I'm going to link my answer to that as well. So again, I'm thinking more about, you know, the grassroots game.
Yeah.
I said it earlier, you know, you're trying to be everything to everybody. Actually, sometimes like, we don't have to be in the middle of everything as coaches. You know, so actually sometimes to look after ourselves, like work with others, delegate a little bit, and actually, you know what, like use the players. Like, the players are so capable. Like the players can set up games, the players can manage games. You know, the players can be really creative in like how do we adapt and change a session. So again, I guess it's that we don't have to have all of the answers. We can use what's around us. It's probably going to help us as well feel good about like where we are and what we're doing.
What support is there for coaches to use either inside or outside of the game?
Within the talent space, you know, the academy system has brought together quite a robust, functional programme for each club to have mental welfare people in there.
Everybody's different, so that help and support might look different. I think, again, we've mentioned it, but that support network piece, you know, having somebody that you can go to, you can talk to, you can share with, I think it's really, really critical. You know, like I say, whoever you're coaching, you know, whatever level of the game you're working at, sometimes just being able to share can take a lot of the stress and pressure away. Just
definitely,
you know, or you know, almost like I say, offloading it.
I think also, again, we spoke about, you know, support in and around the work environment. Identifying where the stresses or the pressures are coming from and what it is you need actual support with or help with. It could be with session design, session planning. So the FA YouTube channel, for example, lots of practices on there which may speed up your time you spend planning the sessions. But I think also understanding that, you know, stress and anxiety are part of daily life, and being able to deal with that, but making sure that your utilisation of the time you've got available is spent wisely and that you work smart as opposed to hard.
Are there any tools or methods you use to regulate yourself or stay in a calm, challenging situation, or staying calm in a challenging situation?
I think for me a lot of it is around in your planning and your preparation. You know, certainly if you think about like match days when it can be quite, you know, again, grassroots football, like different pressure and expectations from different people watching. So I think as a coach, how much can you control before the match even starts? So, you know, you're planning and prep, you know, even if you think about your starting lineup, who's going to play, who are going to be your substitutes, how are you going to have those conversations with those who might not be starting, you know, so you're not having to do it all in the moment, because I think that can be really, really tough. So control the controllables. And also, I think there's a piece around like sharing what success looks like for you. We step on the pitch to try to win a game, always. But actually there might be things within the game that we're really proud of or really happy of. So if we've been working on something at training and we see it happen, like that's
Very
success. Good. I think, being able to control as much as we can, then when things happen that we don't always necessarily have control of, we can focus on those things and be prepared for it.
And I think if I can just piggyback on that, it's this sort of preparing your scenario and yourself before it, to say, you know, even the score, someone go, you know, we go 3-0 down in the first 10 minutes, how am I gonna react? And it you know, you build up resilience, then you build up sort of positive behaviours, and then the review after. So how did I behave during these moments? Maybe what can I do a little bit better? But always start with what went well, and then an even better if. Don't start with the negatives. So what went well? There's always something you can hang on to.
And I think you started, Vicky, by saying about your planning and preparation. So that's something that we can control. And knowing that you've done your planning and preparation sort of puts you in a reasonable position for when it becomes a challenging situation. When you're then challenged, having had some previous experience in those situations, being able to recall what happened in those moments previously can certainly give you some sort of confidence in being able to deal with it in a reasonable sort of fashion. When things are really challenging, then I'll certainly use breathing techniques, just to keep myself calm, keep myself focused in the moment. So there's a couple of techniques I use. I know with players who've had challenging situations on the pitch, they may wear little wristbands, and when they feel the red mist coming down, they can just refer to that as a means of, look, I've got to ground myself as well. So there's certain physical techniques, physical actions, behaviours that you can revert back to, which will allow you to deal with a challenging situation in a sensible way.
A thing which really sticks in my mind is maintaining the energy levels when you're out there coaching match day, and finding that sort of real passion and enthusiasm for it, and that comes from being sometimes quite animated in a positive way, and then it, from a negative point of view, if you're shaking your head but saying don't worry, they're not matching up, the two of them. So try and make sure you match up your body language with how you're thinking.
But regardless of whether you're working at grassroots level or at senior first team level, there's going to be challenges out there. So, it could be a parent at grassroots level whose son isn't playing or daughter isn't playing, and they want to speak to you there and then about it. Or at first team level, you're 4-0 down, you're stood in front of a crowd of however many thousand with the press, the focus on you. How do you maintain your composure? How do you maintain your professionalism and deal with it in the way that hopefully you've had some sort of training, but you've got the tools to show your own personality and handle the situation well.
To wrap up this discussion, what are your quick fire top tips to help coaches maintain their well-being?
So top tips, again, I think we're back to the start now. It's that balance. It's your diet, it's your exercise, it's your sleep, it's your connection with other people, particularly connection with other people. Being able to share things and discuss things and have an open, frank environment. Work hard at that. Work hard at keeping in contact. Work hard at understanding yourself, but also understanding others.
And that understanding yourself, for me, again, goes back to what energises you. Do more of that. If it's speaking with certain players, and connect to all your players. At least have some communication to the players, because they'll feel and sense how your energy, and you'll get a bit off them. And make sure you play a bit of football straight away and let them score goals, because that'll energise you as well. Seeing them happy.
I think, we've said it. My one is, surround yourself with good people, build your network, have good people, have critical friends, and you've got your go-tos.
And I think if you have that general good well-being, you will have good mental health. That then lends itself to a really positive working environment.